Going to call to order the regular school board meeting. Today is February 14th, 2024, and we will begin this meeting as we do every meeting with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started on our agenda items, I just would like to recognize two Washington Township employees that we lost suddenly last week. Mr. Bryce Gilbert from Allisonville and Miss Jennifer Mitchell from Willow Lake. So if we could just have a brief moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. And Mr. Fensel will read our mission statements.
Yes, the mission of Washington Township Schools is to develop lifelong learners and globally minded citizens by fostering the academic, creative, and social skills needed to achieve excellence in a multicultural environment.
Thank you. First up on the agenda is board recognitions. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Board President, and good evening, Washington Township School community. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. I can't think of a better way to spend it than a board meeting. So clearly you agree. Special recognition tonight. Congratulations to West Lane Middle School 8th grader Noah Davis. Noah was recently accepted into the 2024 Honors Performance Series. The Honors Performance Series was established with the goal of distinguishing talented student musicians in a once-in-a-lifetime performance. It has showcased thousands of dedicated young performers on renowned stages across the world. Noah began private violin lessons in August 2019 at Indianapolis Suzuki Academy. During his time at West Lane, Noah has participated in numerous musical endeavors, including the West Lane Advanced Orchestra, the Indianapolis Youth Orchestra, and North Central side-by-side Masterworks concerts. His leadership in orchestra class and dedication to his musicianship is outstanding. The Honors Performance Series will provide Noah an opportunity to learn from renowned music conductors and perform alongside students with a similar love for music. Also, as an accredited organization, World Strides gives students participating in the Honors Performance Series the opportunity to earn high school credit by completing an online course after the program. Noah is an excellent violinist and student who will make a great member of this elite orchestra. I'm excited for him to represent West Lane in this ensemble of students from all over the world. And again, congratulations to you, Noah.
Good idea, good idea. Congratulations.
And that concludes our board recognitions this evening. Back to you, President George Davis.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Next up, we have the school spotlight, and this evening it is Crooked Creek. Mrs. Parquette.
That's a fan club. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Woodson, board. Thank you for having us here today. I just need to breathe, barely made it. Don't know how it took 30 minutes to get from 96 Meridian to Keystone, but okay, I'm here. Crooked Creek Elementary School. I'm excited to share the great things that are happening at Crooked Creek this year. Points of pride for our staff. We have weekly recognitions that the staff shares, and I put it in my weekly happenings, so other staff are recognizing each other and the great work they're doing at Crooked Creek. We're doing some flexible grouping within grade levels, and we have intentional conversations during our PLCs, which have been very helpful in planning intentional lessons for students that might be struggling. And then we have a strong relationship with our Cummins therapists, so they're able to reach out and help our families and our students that need that extra support. Points of pride for our students. This year, we welcomed 35 refugee families to Crooked Creek. Oh, 36 now, right. We added another one as of today, 36. 13 countries are represented. We have 13 various languages that are being represented at Crooked Creek. So we're excited for that population to join our school. And then we have our math bowl. We are created 2 teams, a 4th grade team and a 5th grade team. So we're excited about that. And then we have some mixed grade level buddies. So older grade levels are working with younger grade levels. And then running club just started, so we can get ready for the Great North Run. And then we have artistically talented students to represent Crooked Creek. Our school community, we're proud of the Latino Literacy Project that has happened for the 2nd time, and looking forward to future times with that. And we just started our Crooked Creek Food Pantry. The social worker got support from, I believe, Willow Lake School to get some canned foods already started. We have house days. That's where we use for PBS to celebrate. We try to do it monthly, celebrate our students and the great work they're doing. And then we have our Crooked Creek affirmation that we created a few years ago that is read on the morning announcements every day. And then we have PTO sponsored events, and then math night. So we're excited for all the things that are happening at Crooked Creek. Areas of academic achievement celebrations. Based on our NWA quadrant report, we had high achievement, high growth in our winter NWA math scores. So we were excited about that. 68% of our K-5 students are at or above grade level in math per the district measures on NWA. And 74% of the 3rd graders are at or above grade level in reading or NWA. And then by the time summer school happened, we had 88.1% of our 3rd graders pass iRead 3, which was a 5.7% increase from the prior year. Continued areas of growth. We always want to work on increasing our overall iLearn proficiency for grades 3, 4, and 5. Increasing total percentage of K-5 students meeting NWEA proficiency, and increasing the number of English language learners meeting grade level proficiency. We're also working on being more consistent with the use of our de-escalation strategies, and we continue to work on increasing iRead scores. And now we are working on increasing staff knowledge of the science of reading. Promising practices to close the racial achievement gap. We are continuing school-wide PLCs, working collaboratively as teams to proactively support equitable student growth. We talk a lot about subgroups and how we can support the different subgroups we have at Crooked Creek so they can achieve more. We offer a running club during the morning so that we can have more inclusive students since we don't have late bus at the end of the day. We have PTO providing Scholastic Book Fair books to all students in the spring, so then they have books to take home during the summer. And then the Latino Literacy Project, strengthening the school community and family school partnership for upcoming generations. And then Kids Dance Outreach for our 3rd graders. This is happening again this spring, so we're excited about that. We have a couple of special recognitions that I would like to share. First, we have a fourth grade student, Bruno Ontiveros, and he is being spotlighted because he is helping a first grade newcomer that came at the beginning of the year in his classroom with math. So he's able to speak Spanish to him and kind of get him understanding what he needs to do, and has been very supportive. And the first grader is making a lot of growth in English as well as his math skills. Congratulations. For our above and beyond parent recognition goes to Carla Schmidt, and she holds two positions, parent and resource teacher at Crooked Creek. But she is a champion for public education and a champion for Crooked Creek. And we love having her on staff and all the great things that she provides for our students as well as our families. Thank you. And then as our supportive partnership recognition, we have Maria Baldwin, and we selected her because she has done such great work with the Latino Literacy Project last year and this year at Crooked Creek. And we love that partnership and hope it can flourish more. Thank you very much. And if anybody wants to visit, we're on the west side.
Thank you, Mrs. Parquette. Next, we have the superintendent's announcements. Dr. Woodson.
Thank you, President George Davis, and good evening, everyone. In your documents are the February cultural and religious observances. Just as your FYI, this information remains on our website. Also, believe it or not, it is time to save the date for our board participation in commencement. So those dates are in your announcements for you to add to your calendar. Obviously, commencement we need you at. The others are all optional. I also included from Dr. Taylor our annual bus inspection. I typically don't share this with the board, but it had such tremendous kudos that I thought you would want to know the overwhelming feedback of success that inspection was, and the comments about our staff in transportation that I certainly wanted you to have as kudos. We also finished our spring ADM, and Mrs. Smith has prepared a data chart for you as an attachment, but just some summary notes. This is the first time in the last 5 years that our spring ADM number is higher than our fall ADM number, which is great. We are experiencing tremendous enrollment growth, both fall student count day as well as this past spring. We are leading Marion County with enrollment increase, while at the same time, and we're all excited about the growth, but I do want to remind, which is why Mrs. Smith gives that multi-year look back, that we are still not back to our pre-pandemic numbers, even though this feels like extraordinary growth in such a short amount of time with over 400 students in one academic year. We are still not back to our pre-pandemic enrollment numbers. So the history there is for you to see and analyze, and certainly if you have any questions, let us know. Our HR department will be hosting at the end of the month our Washington Township Teacher Recruitment Fair. And because it's our own, we always invite the school board members to pop in, meet and greet candidates along with the administrative team. So those dates are there. All of the legislative updates for all of the activity and flurry happening downtown are there for you. I meet weekly with our lobbyist representatives, and if there are ever any questions or points of emphasis you want me to share, just get those to me and I can incorporate those into my weekly legislative meetings. In celebration of Black History Month, IEPSS put out a publication or a graphic that you have in your documents. Out of 290 plus superintendents, there are only 7 of us that are of color. And so they did a nice job featuring the 7 of us. I thought you would want to know that. But in my, sadly, I'm one of the most senior of this group. So the first several years, well, half of my superintendency, we did not get together. We were fewer in number at that time, and we just didn't get together. And so I am trying to change that. Now that I'm one of the most senior members of the group, and having us have dinners and fellowship and concentrated dialogue together more often, at least once a quarter. So pleased to facilitate and organize that on behalf of all of us. And last is a board memo that I would like each of you to take a look at the QAR last board meeting. The Teaching and Learning Division shared some information on discipline. And this unpacks a little bit more some of the questions that I received after that presentation, and some that came up during the presentation are answered in this memo Dr. Pettigrew led with her team to get a more comprehensive glance at the discipline matters that were addressed at the QAR. There was an additional memo to follow up from that QAR on the truancy and attendance issues that were discussed at the last board meeting that I put in the hands of President George Davis. So both of those are follow-up to the QAR. That's all I have. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Dr. Whitson. And we're at the point of our agenda where we have comments from the public. Just a reminder, when you step to the mic, please give us your name and your address. Comments are not to exceed 21 minutes, 3 minutes per speaker. No speaker is allowed to speak twice unless everybody has spoken on that topic. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, President George Davis. Good evening, Dr. Woodson, members of the board. I recommend the board approve the consent agenda for this meeting. The consent agenda this evening includes approval of the minutes of the January 24th, 2024 board meeting and the memorandum of the February 5th, 2024 executive session, approval of 3 payroll calculation summary reports, a claims docket in the amount of $6,244,297.06, a human resources report containing the following for classified personnel: 17 new hires identified by numbers 175 through 191, 17 resignations identified by numbers 106 through 122, 3 terminations, that's numbers 19 through 21. For certified personnel, there are 3 new appointments, numbers 114 through 116, 4 resignations, numbers 91 through 94, and 1 transfer, number 13, as well as 3 maternity, child rearing adoptions through, that's numbers 15 through 17. There are no non-competitive grants to present for the board's approval this evening. There are also no grants, gifts, or donations to present at this time. With that, I'll answer any questions the board may have.
Or any questions?
If there are no questions, I move approval of the consent agenda as presented by Dr. Taylor.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you.
So as not to torture you, if anybody wants to head out now, this is your opportunity. Thank you again, Crooked Creek, for coming. Everybody's leaving. They were waiting. Okay, we're up to our action items. First on the agenda is approval of Educational Excellence Awards, Excellence in Student-Centered Support. Ms. Dodson.
Good evening, Dr. Woodson, Madam President, and school board members. My name is Jen Dodson. I have the privilege of serving as the district lead school counselor for Washington Township. Tonight, I'm here to seek your approval to move forward with our application for the Indiana Department of Education's Educational Excellence in Student-Centered Support Award. This award seeks to recognize a district that has expanded access to evidence-based supports in the areas of academics and student well-being. As a result of the IDOE's Comprehensive School Counseling Grant, we have been able to pilot elementary school counselors in 2 of our elementary schools this year, creating student services teams that provide cohesive programming, supporting all students' well-being. We were also able to provide intensive training to school counselors and elementary student services teams to advance our work in comprehensive school counseling and coordinated systems of support. And on top of that, we currently have 3 schools pursuing Carrying the Torch, an award designation that recognizes schools that are fully implementing the American School Counseling Association's counseling model in the state of Indiana. We want to highlight and celebrate all of the progress that we've made as a district in supporting students' well-being. We also want to leverage this opportunity to secure funding in order to continue that work. You should have a document entitled Educational Excellence Award Overview for School Board that contains a draft budget and expenditures. I want you to know that as many DOE grants are, the turnaround on this was really tight. And so as a result, we are still in the process of finalizing that budget that is in front of you right now. You'll see in the budget, there are various resources and professional learning opportunities to support school counselors and school social workers' continued growth. And this grant funding would allow us to continue using the Panorama Student Survey, which provides us with normed data on student well-being. That Panorama Student Survey helps us to develop programming that meets the social emotional needs of our students. I'd like to seek your approval to move forward with this grant application, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Board, any questions?
If there are no questions, Madam President, I move we approve the Educational Excellence Awards, Excellence in Student-Centered Support as presented by Mrs. Dodson.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Dodson. Next, we have the approval of the resolution for supplemental pay to early literacy teachers. Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you, Dr. Woodson, President George Davis, and members of the board. I come before you this evening seeking approval of a resolution for supplemental pay to be paid to qualifying Washington Township teachers who taught early literacy in the 2022-2023 school year and remain employed as teachers this school year. As the board can see from the documentation provided in your board documents for this evening, on December 1st of 2023, the Indiana Department of Education announced via memo that school corporations would receive grant funds to be paid to teachers teaching early literacy in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade during the 2022-23 school year, who remained teachers in the school corporation in 23-24. This grant required no application on the part of the districts, and we were told that the total amount received by districts would be distributed based upon the number of students who participated in iRead 3 in 2023, the number of eligible students who achieved a passing score on iRead 3 in 22-23, including the summer retest, the school's complexity index, the school's growth in reading proficiency rate, the number of eligible students receiving special education services, the average daily membership or ADM count, and the number of eligible English language learners. On December 15th, 2024, we, along with other districts and schools around the state, were notified of our award amount. The amount awarded to Washington Township was $159,771.35. You see that in the resolution this evening. I would like to be exceptionally clear that we certainly value literacy instruction happening in Washington Township across all levels, pre-K through grade 12. However, the grant is extremely specific that these funds may only be distributed to teachers involved in delivering literacy instruction in grades kindergarten through third grade. And this resolution was crafted in alignment with the requirements of the grant. Additionally, we were conscious of aligning the design for the distribution of these funds with our current board-approved policy for distributing the annual teacher appreciation grant, as we felt this was both appropriate and consistent. Based on this, the resolution I bring you for approval this evening would include a one-time stipend to be paid from early literacy achievement grant funds no later than March 29th of 2024 to eligible teachers in accordance with applicable rules and regulations as to who are highly effective and effective teachers. The stipend will be an equal amount for each teacher provided. However, effective teachers will receive 75% of the amount distributed to highly effective teachers. Teachers whose first day worked with the district was no later than the first record day of the 22-23 school year, and who have worked continuously and have not provided notice of resignation before the date of stipend distribution will be eligible for the full amount. Teachers whose first day worked with the district was during the first semester of 2023 and who have worked continuously until and have not provided notice of their resignation before the date the stipend is distributed will be eligible for 1/2 of the total stipend. And all stipends will be subject to applicable taxes and withholdings. The final per teacher amount will be calculated based upon the eligible teachers who maintain employment with the district on the date of distribution as determined by the superintendent or her designee, and in compliance with the Indiana Department of Education rules and regulations and this resolution. It is our intent through this process to distribute all the funds available in the grant to qualifying teachers, and final per teacher amounts will be provided to the board via memo once the formula for distribution is applied to all qualifying teachers. Our current plan is to distribute funds on the pay of March 15th, 2024. This concludes my presentation of the resolution, and I am pleased to answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
Mr. Fensel?
You may have already answered it, but I was just curious what you thought each teacher might receive from this.
Yeah, we're still finalizing, Mr. Fensel. I believe that the teacher appreciation grant for this year for effective teachers was about $400 for effective teachers. It will be less than that. My assumption would be we'll probably land somewhere in a $200 to $300 range for an effective teacher. And then again, that is 75% of what a highly effective, but until we fully apply the formula, won't know for sure.
Okay, thank you.
And then, Dr. Kaiser, for the sake of the listening public, these teachers don't necessarily, as long as they're still employed with the district, they don't necessarily have to be in K-3 this year, correct?
Certainly, you could have a teacher who was in K-3 providing literacy instruction last year, and perhaps this year has been moved to a 5th grade classroom. As long as they were in K-3 last year and remain a teacher in some capacity, they would continue to be eligible. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Madam President, if there are no further questions, I move approval of the resolution for supplemental pay to early literacy teachers as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next up, we have the approval of the resolution. Yes, approval of the resolution for supplemental pay for CTE mentors, Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you, Dr. Woods and President George Davis and members of the board. I also come to you tonight with a second resolution for supplemental pay. This resolution provides supplemental pay to teachers at the J. Everett Light Career Center who serve as career, technical, and education mentors. As the board may be aware, there is already a $500 stipend that is paid to these mentors annually, and this resolution would add an additional $300 per mentor to be paid in this school year and in next school year. The desire to increase the amount is due to both increased funds available to JEL in their CTE grant, as well as increased duties of those serving as mentors, including supporting any new employee certified and classified as assigned, attending professional development sessions, completing a diary, completing mentor checklists, completing 3+ classroom observations of each mentee that they work with, ensuring the mentee observes 4 or more experienced teachers, meeting with their mentee each week, choosing 4 areas of focus to review with the mentee, and sharing resources and additional support to the mentee. JEL averages about 4 mentors per year. So we anticipate the total cost of this supplemental pay to be $2,400 total, which will carry us through the end of school year 2024, 2025. And the funding will again come from CTE grant funds that are received by J. Everett Light. Again, this concludes my presentation, and I'm pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Board, any questions?
If there are no questions, Madam President, I move that we approve the resolution for supplemental pay to CTE mentors as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Next, we have the approval of the agreement for, I went too far, sorry. Approval of client services agreement, speech language pathologist with Absolute Therapy LLC, Dr. Alazar.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I think I got 3 of them, so you probably saw my name 3 times. Good evening, Dr. Whitson and board members. Happy Valentine's Day. I am here seeking your approval to sign an agreement with a speech therapist contract through Absolute Therapy. I know I brought similar items for an approval before, so I'm going to repeat it again. As you know, according to IDEA, the Individual Disability Education Act, and Article 7, Indiana Rules Regulation for Special Education, public agency, school district like us, must provide services if a case conference committee determines such services are necessary for students to benefit from special education services. Allisonville Elementary has high numbers of students with speech therapy services, so we need additional support to meet the IEP service minutes for the rest of the school year. So we would like to sign an agreement with Absolute Therapy to provide a qualified SLP to support our students with IEP. And this contract starts right now and it ends until May 2024. And this SLP will provide 2 days a week SLP services at Allisonville. I'll answer any questions you have.
Board, any questions?
Dr. Alazar, this Absolute Therapy is, we've worked with them before.
That is correct, yes.
Are they currently providing services in the district?
Yes, they are. Yes, correct. Yeah, they provide us another SLP, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
If there are no more questions, I move that we approve the client services agreement services with Absolute Therapy LLC as
Second.
Been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the approval of the agreement with service provider to provide related service for students with IEPs. Dr. Allison.
Thank you again. And this is very similar to the previous one, but this one is for occupational therapy. So again, according to IDEA and Indiana's Article 7, for students that receive special education, school district like Washington Township must provide related services to students if the IEP team determine that is necessary for students to benefit from special education services. Occupational therapy is considered related services. So the service provider is assigned to multiple schools at Washington Township to provide related services for students with IEP. One of our current occupational therapists is taking a maternity leave. So we would like to sign an agreement with an independent occupational therapist to provide services for our students with IEP. And this contract is for February until the end of the school year. Answer any questions you have.
Board, any questions? Mr. Turner?
This is just a simple one. So in the agreement, it talks about a per hour rate. is your total based off of 40 hours a week for the rest of the?
That is
time?
correct for the occupational therapist, yes.
There are no further questions. Madam President, I move that we approve the agreement for service provider occupational therapist to provide related services for students with IEPs as presented by Dr. Alazar.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Oops, sorry, I'm having a. Okay, next, we have the approval of renewal of Panorama Education Service Order. Dr. Elsa.
Thank you. This one is slightly different. So I am here seeking your approval to renew a Panorama Education Service Order. The district's strategic plan outlines the need for capturing and organizing voices of our parents, community, as well as students and staff to better inform our school improvement efforts. The demand to efficiently and effectively produce and gather organized feedback is at a premium. Our district has worked routinely to prepare data report that captures what our school leadership team and teachers need to make informed and responsive decisions on behalf of our students and their families. As we look to improve our system of support for our students and staff, the ability to have one place access this data in an efficient and well-organized dashboard is a significant value. We have utilized Panorama survey instrument before for the last 3 years, and we would like to continue utilizing our Panorama to gather feedback from our school community to make informed decision in relation to the goal outlined in our district strategic plan. And this contract will be for starting now for the next 2 years. I'll answer any questions you have.
Mr. Turner.
So I should have asked this before the meeting and I apologize for not catching it, but the Mrs. Dotson came in, talked to us about the IDOE grant, and in that grant, the budget says it has something about Panorama.
Correct.
Is that the same
Yeah.
survey? So would that cover, if we get that grant, does that cover some of the costs you're asking for?
Great question. So the grant that Ms. Danson mentioned will be specifically for students.
Students
So
only?
this one is for staff and families.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
It's different.
Correct. Yeah. So we're not doing a student survey with this one. That one is if we have the grant moving forward, we will implement the Panorama survey for our students.
Thank you. No further questions. Madam President, I move that we approve the renewal of Panorama Education Services Service Order as presented by Dr. Alazar.
I'll second.
Been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Allen.
Thank you.
Next, we have the approval of the 2023 transfer appropriation resolution. Mrs. Smith.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Woods, and members of the board. This evening, I bring to you a transfer appropriation resolution. And at the end of each budget year, we ask the board for permission to transfer appropriations within funds so that no major budgeted fund account number ends in a negative or a deficit position is required by the State Board of Accounts. So what this does is this looks at each fund, and you'll see on your attached resolution that we have 3 funds listed: education fund, referendum fund, and operations fund. And then it provides the major program number. It shows the current budget, the amount we're transferring from that budget in or out, and then the adjusted budget. So as you'll see with each one, the net is 0, because of course we're just transferring with each fund from major account number to major account number to make them whole. So like I said, in education fund, you'll see it starts out with the $77.4 million and ends with the same. It just transfers within each other. Referendum fund is starts up, of course, at the 19 million and then finalizes at the same 19 million. And last but not least, our operations fund, the 46.8 million, and ends the same with 46.8 million. So we would ask the board for approval of this resolution for transfers for the year ending 2024 as presented.
Mr. Frenzel.
Yeah, just a quick question. I noticed in the current, none of those are negative. So are we transferring just because it makes sense for some other reason? There's not necessarily a negative balance, or maybe there's negative balances within those.
I apologize. The current is what the board approved during the budget process back in August. So every year, the board approves an appropriation within those. So you'll see that within those appropriations, for instance, the first example started at 44 million too. At the end of the year, we needed 45 million to cover the expenditures in that line item. So that's what that means. It's the first approved budget at the very beginning of a year, of a calendar year, and then what's utilized and what we need to adjust to make up for the expenditures at the end of the year.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. There are no further questions. I move approval of the 2023 transfer appropriation resolution as presented by Mrs. Smith.
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the approval of October, November, December 2023 financial reports.
Thank you, Madam President. In your board docs, you will see the 3 separate months and also the quarterly summary of those financials. We'll be going through some individual numbers as we do the year-end presentation. So I was not planning on going through those, but I'll do a highlight for you. So for our education fund, we were able to end the year with almost exactly even cash balances. We started out the year, so that was very good to see. Our referendum fund ticked up due to the assessed valuation and increased revenue that we received, approximately a little over $1 million. And then our operations fund started out at 34.4 million and ended with 32.775 million. And that was by design. As you recall, we had already planned for expenses to help with some of our construction projects. So that is by design that we had that money saved, and we'll be utilizing that over the next 3 to 4 years and come back down to normal where we were previous before the construction. So that is our ending total fund balance for those 3 major funds is just shy of $54 million. And it started out the year at 54.8. So you'll see that difference of approximately $500,000 less. And like I said, that's mostly due to our operations fund and utilizing some of those funds. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding these. These are right on target for what we anticipated for the year end, and we were happy to be able to report that.
Board, any questions?
Madam President, if there are no questions, I move approval of the October, November, December 2023 financial reports as presented by Mrs. Smith.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next, I think you guys love giving me this stuff. Next, we have the approval of a first reading of policies A250, A325, B100, C150, C175, C425, C475, C500, and D325. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. That is a mouthful, and we'll be doing this for the next several months as we go through our policy reorg. So attached in your documents, you'll find the first reading of the policies, as you indicated. The first one is policy A250, and that is regarding no tobacco. This replaces several different policies: 1615, 3215, 4215, 4900, 5512, and 7434. This is one that we have had, and you'll see how that was sprinkled out through the different policies throughout the district. And that was mainly because one might be talk about students, one might talk about staff, one might talk about administrators or visitors on the property or construction workers and those type of things. So that is one of our reasons of why we're doing this consolidation to simplify more of our policies. The next one you'll see is policy A 325, communicable diseases, and this replaces policy 8450 and 8453. And this is just a summary of the communicable diseases and what our expectations are. The law does not specifically require this policy, but it's a great idea to have, and that we already had previous policies on that. And that is why we chose to add this policy. The next one, policy B100, board authority and philosophy. This goes in line with previous Neola policies that they provided to Washington Township. This is not currently one of our Washington Township policies, but after review, we thought it was good, along with the board liaisons, was good to add to our policy list. Next, we have policy C150, homeless students. This replaces Washington Township policies 5111.01, and this one is required by McKinney-Vento for the homeless students in our district. The next one is policy C175, student attendance and academic engagement. This replaces policy 5200 and is required by Indiana Code 20-33-2-14. And then next we have policy C425, student suicide prevention and awareness. This replaces policy 5350, and this is required also by Indiana Code 20-26-5-34.4. And next we have policy C475, school-sponsored publications and productions. This replaces policy 5722, and this also addresses privacy recording concerns in virtual classrooms. Next one is policy C500, school trips and privately sponsored activities involving corporation employees and students. This replaces policies 2340 and 8640, and this includes the new language required by HEA 1483. And last but not least is policy D325, and this is employee background checks and mandatory reporting. This replaces policies 1520-08, 1521, 2315, 3120-08, 3121, 4120.08, 4121, 8120, 8121.01. And this change reflects the new Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2 and SEA 342. And also wanted to mention, with all these policies that we do run these through, we have a committee through our board liaisons and myself, and also executive leaders within the district. So each one of these are given to whoever is in that area to vet and to make sure that we're in line with what our current procedures and policies are in the district. So I would ask, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have, and ask for approval of this first reading of these policies as presented.
Board, any questions? Ms. Fry?
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch this sooner.
That's okay. That's why it's a first reading.
On C475,
Okay,
there were some changes we talked about in our committee meeting that are not reflected there. So those can still be made between.
absolutely. Yes, I will double check on that. I'll get with you and make sure that we have all those adjustments in there. And I'll point that out on the second reading also.
Madam President, if there are no further questions, I move approval of the policies. First reading as presented by Mrs. Smith. You want me to list all of those?
Yes, because I had to.
Oh. It's Valentine's Day. All right.
I'm teasing. I'm
Oh,
teasing.
I'll be glad to. Do we think we need to for legal reasons at all? I'll read them.
Been stated.
Okay,
Yeah.
as stated by Mrs. Smith.
There we go. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. You're still there, but we are done with our action items and moving on to our one information item, which is our 2023 final year end and 2024 budget order review. Take it
it away.
And this evening, we will go through the 2023 financials and also the 2024 budget order. So you'll see, we'll start out, of course, we review the main funds that we consider with the district, and that's our education fund, our operating referendum, and our operations fund. And we'll go on through those to talk about the history. So here you'll see where we present a 5-year comparison. And the reason why we do from 2019 on, just a refresher that this is the old AKA general fund that was broken up into 4 categories, and 2 categories moved to this new education fund, and the other 2 categories moved to the new operations fund. So here you'll see the history from 2019 to 2023. And it starts out with a beginning cash balance, the total receipts for those years, and total expenditures. And then in the ending cash balance there, you'll see how we have maintained steady over the last several years. And that is our goal, is to remain steady with our education fund. And then next you'll see our carry forward encumbrances. This is outstanding purchase orders that we utilize those budget dollars for. And something near the end of the year, the invoice might not have come in, the product might not have come in, and those are outstanding purchase orders that are waiting to be paid, that roll into the next year that are already spoken for. So this is customary that we like to take those off our ending cash balance, because I want a true picture of what we truly ended with after those obligations will be paid. So you'll see that adjusted cash balance there for all the years also. So if you look at that, you'll compare the 2022 to the 2023. We had our ending cash balance was pretty close to identical. And then the difference is just the carry forward purchase orders. And then our adjusted cash balance there is healthy at our $13.3 million. Next, you'll see the same information just in graph form. Everybody looks at things differently, so I like to put the data up there and then also do the charts for those comparisons. So these are the same exact numbers, but in chart form for our ending cash balances. That way you can visually see how our cash balance has been over the last 5 years, and also the receipts versus expenditures for those years. So of course, our goal is to maintain our receipts and expenditures and balance those out each year. Next, you'll see our operating referendum fund. And as you know, we've done these type of presentations before on our history of our operating referendum. So you'll see here all that work that went into our last operating referendum that will go until 2028. And then next you'll see just the different areas that we have utilized those monies for. And that was renewing our existing operating referendum from 2016. That was approximately 6.5 million. And then we increased some staff pay, 3.9 million, and then added some additional staff at 5.6 million. And then here is the same comparison that you see over the last 5 years for our operating referendum. And then you'll notice that ending cash balance has continued to go up, and that is mostly because of our increase on our assessed valuation. So we continue to look at that and continue to coincide with during any kind of negotiations, any kind of bargaining, and current employees that are paid under that operating referendum. The operating referendum, and most of that is about 99% of salaries and benefits for our staff. So we employ over 350 employees with this operating referendum. So you'll see there the ending adjusted cash balance after you take out the carry forward encumbrances from the outstanding purchase orders. So we ended the year in 2023 at 7.6 million. And like I said, most of that is due to, you can see the total receipts from 22 to 23 was 18 million, and then ended up at 20 million. So that difference is almost, that $1.2 million is a reflection of the difference of the receipts there. And then next is the charts that you'll see for the ending cash balance, and then the receipt versus expenditures, and the same thing is, balancing those out to make sure that we are spending according to what we are receiving. And then next we have the operations fund, and you'll see that also from 2019 to 2023. And that is where we wanted to kind of show you of how we were having dollars for additional construction projects. So as we know, we have our capital debt that we utilize from our community's gracious approving 2 different capital referendums. And then, of course, we still have other items that are needed throughout the district. So you will see by design that number to start going down. So you can tell from 2021 to 2022 to 2023, that was by design as we go forward with all of our construction projects and things like that, of things that weren't covered in the capital referendum. So we are utilizing those funds. And then our goal is to be back stable after the construction projects are done in the next 3 years. And those, of course, are the graphs that reflect all those numbers that we just saw for the operations fund, which is, as a reminder, is those 2 categories that came over from the old general fund, and also the previous capital projects fund, transportation operating, and our bus replacement fund are all in this operations fund now. And then next, we just want to kind of go through this year's budget order. Our budget orders are done calendar year, January through December. They run that way in our cash balance history. So this is a highlight of what our 2024 budget order funds came in at for the certified budgets that the board approved through our budget process, and then our certified assessed valuation. And you'll see that those changes, and then the certified levies, and then the tax rates, and then the beginning cash balance for this year of 2024. And then down at the bottom, you'll see the comparison against last year's numbers in 2023, the difference in budget versus the certified AV, the difference in the levy, and the levy is the property taxes that we'll collect, and then the certified rate for the tax rates, and the difference from the tax rate from this year to last year, and then also the cash balance differences that we started out at the beginning of the year. So you'll see that we start out altogether with a 2.9 difference in our cash balance. And just to bring highlight to that, the main reason is usually our debt service funds. So our debt service funds we utilize for our debt. It's just like when you pay your mortgage payments, it has amortization schedules that you make payments in June and December for our debt. But then there is a formula that is based through the budget process that allows you to have so much cash on hand to allow for if for some reason you did not receive your property taxes on time. And I've been in this long enough where I've had that happen several years ago. And that gives you that opportunity to still make those payments without going in delinquent status. So that is why is those 2 debts are higher this year, because of the balance that is required for the future payments. So that is most of that increase that you see there, besides our referendum fund and that uptick up of over a little over $1 million. So I know that is a lot of information for tonight, and I know that's a general overview for our 2023 year end and also our start of our 2024. I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding the end of the year or the beginning of this year.
Board, any questions? Not one.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Thank you very much.
That concludes our agenda items. Anything else for the good of the order? I would just like to remind everybody to sign up for the Great North Run. March 8th. March 9th. Yes, that is a Saturday. March 9th, early in the morning, and they have snacks.
No.
Dr. Taylor is now in timeout.
It's cold.
If nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and properly second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
We are adjourned.